This is Michael, the host of the WDYM podcast. You ever hear an episode and want to give your 2 cents? Now you have that option with the text and talk. In each episode description up at the top, you see the option for text and talk. Hit that link, start texting, and I'll start talking. Be a part of the WDYM podcast and start text and talking with me. This podcast is not brought to you by Venmo. Since 2009, Venmo has been the app for fast, safe, and social payments between friends. It's the app where settling up feels like catching up, and where money enhances friendships rather than complicating them. 11 years, 60 million users, and a bajillion of delightful payments and emojis and inside jokes later, we're still that and much more. Now you can pay Venmo with almost anywhere. You can put Venmo in your wallet, literally with a Venmo Master debit card. You can connect with brands and businesses just like you do with your friends. Our community of users like you has led us to where we are today, and we cannot wait to see where you take Venmo next. Venmo, where you pay your friends back.
You're listening to the WDYM, the What Do You Mean podcast, Hamilton's #1 podcast. Now sit back and relax. Here's Hamilton's own Michael Gillespie.
Can you tell? Can you tell I got a problem with somebody? Oh, man. Y'all know I'm a clown. You know I'm goofy and everything. But this is legit. Okay? This is absolutely legit. Use your Venmo to pay your people back. Okay? I'm just letting that out there. I just wanted to share a public service announcement that Venmo does exist. Welcome to the WDYM, the What Do You Mean podcast. I'm your host, Michael Gillespie. Hope everybody's doing good. Hope everybody's doing well. Tax season is among us, right? It is among us. So therefore, it's a perfect reason to pay people back. You're getting money. If you work, you're getting some money. If you got kids, you're getting some money, right? It's a perfect time to pay people back. Anywho, got hit randomly earlier this week, a couple weeks back actually. Random person. This was a random hit that I don't know. I don't know this guy. I couldn't identify him in a line if he did something wrong, but he hit me up. And I wanted to share this with you guys, especially on the podcast. So here we go. He goes, "Hey man, sorry if this is weird, but I'm the new guy at one of your old places. I was wondering what happened to you. I heard stories, but I was wondering if I can get the source. Get back to me if you want. I'd appreciate it, though." I'm like, "Well, what do you mean?" Because, I've been around the block. I've been around different facilities. I need to know what exactly you're talking about. So eventually I find out what he's talking about. He's talking about one of my favorite locations, right? He goes on to say, "I want to know about the whole firing situation." I said, "Oh." He's talking about my dealings with Boo Boo the Fool. It's all on the podcast. It's documented, as you well know. It's in there in multiple episodes, as this whole story has been told, which is why I don't go there. And I said, bro, I said, it's all there. He said, "Yeah, heard, my fault. I just wanted to get the story." I was like, "That's cool. I ain't mad at you, you know what I'm saying? But it's all there on the podcast. You can find what episodes, this, that, and the other." So I was like, "Well, since you're new and I'm not there no more, who brought it up?" So we were talking about the old cooks and managers there, and your name got thrown out. They said, "By the way, people miss you here, and yet you remind them of Kevin Hart." I said, "Man, I've heard that before. Trust me, I have. First of all, I have a podcast. Kevin Hart don't. He ain't think that funny. I think I'm funnier than Kevin Hart, but he just got more money than me. So there you go. Funny jokes and all that good stuff." So yeah. So now I reply back. It makes sense now. It's been almost a year, almost. And, I appreciate people still thinking of me in that high regard. He goes on to say, "Sorry to bring up old memories, just intrigued by the whole thing. For what it's worth, the podcast is fire. And you have a real talent for that." And I was like, "Oh," I said, "Hey." Yes, sir. I'll take that. I will take that. Thank you for the kind words. And I just said, "Man, you're good, bro." I said, regardless, I appreciate the kind words, but it's all in there and everything. So I'm glad that people can listen to the podcast and give me, kudos to doing what I do and everything. And lately, I've been having fun doing it again. Again, I had some weird spaces in between the about a year ago this year onward, because I was shell shocked. I was shell shocked in what I can and can't say and everything. There's just sometimes everything's not covered in a handbook. So understand lessons learned and all that stuff, and dealing with people and all that stuff. To this day, I don't think I did nothing wrong. I don't. Again, like I said before, if you arm yourself with the truth, what do you need a shield for? But regardless of that, I do appreciate the kind words. Appreciate you listening to the podcast. And, I'm just going to keep doing me. I'm going to keep having fun and all that good stuff. But speaking of the podcast, a question came up with another fan or I guess a member, or I don't know, an audience member who enjoys the podcast. It's like, Mike, what? Like, I know you and you tell funny stories, wherever you go and everything. So why aren't you doing video? I said, video? Like a video podcast? I said, yeah. He goes on to say, like, all the shorts, the reels, the TikToks and everything, you see people doing a video a podcast. And I'm like, yo, that's a good idea. And it's like, why don't you think about it? I said, well, I don't even know where to start with that. I enjoy doing this. And one thing that you guys don't see is like all the times I mess up and everything. And then granted, I wouldn't put out a video podcast without editing, right? Again, I haven't, like when I first started doing this, I was not editing anything. So I'm surprised how well some of it holds. Some of it, not all of it. But editing is what's the monster here. It's the one that takes all the time. I'll do the podcast and I edit the podcast and then put it out there. But you got to understand, that's almost 2 hours of work or more, depending on how I go. That's why I try to keep these short. That's why I try to keep these under 25 minutes, because it's 25 minutes of recording, 25 minutes or more. They actually say double it. So it's 50 minutes of editing, and then you put it out there for the world to enjoy. But the idea of going video sounds fun. It sounds amazing to me. But you have to see the studio. The studio's a little cramped. I'm not even going to lie. I got, if I look in here, I got a water warped desk here that is just full of paper and manga books and figurines and worn out shelves and everything. I got my lamp. I got a refrigerator in here. Then I got the podcast room, posters, you name it, it's in here, along with spiders and the webs. Okay, I'm in the basement, people. Understand where I'm at. So the idea of going video, while is enticing, I got to make it look good. I'm not going to put no trash out there for you guys to eat and everything. So as far as video, let's put that as a TBD, to be determined, hopefully for the near future. And, I got to do my research, find out, lighting, video equipment, and all that good stuff. But TBD, to be determined. And another friend of mine, another associate of mine, they said, why don't you have a separate page for the podcast? And I was like, yo, I don't know, because I just just spread the word out through my Instagram, my Facebook, and that's it. And she's like, well, if you do it separately, you're just leaving money on the floor by not doing it separately. I was like, what do you mean? She told me that, I got my nail business and I'm doing my nail thing. I'm somewhat successful and I'm building a clientele. I said, daggone. I said, I need to do the same thing, because why not? So I got plans. I got plans for co-host, plans for video, and plans to do its own social media account for the WDYM. But regardless of that, regardless of everything I planned, I could not be where I am without the people that constantly listen to me, that give me the advice, listen to the podcast. Without you guys, there's no me. So again, thank you. Thank you for listening to me yammer. Yammer. Thank you. So without further ado, that is the intro. So let's get to the main story today. The main story is rules of a mob boss. Now, you may be thinking, like, what in the world are you talking about, Michael? You know, a mob boss in Ohio? Yes, there are mob bosses or bossettes or whatever you want to call it. I have come across somebody who is a genuine mob boss. So I'm going to break this down into I got 5 rules for a mob boss and how she fits it. Now, before I tell the story of Cole, I have to set the mood. I got to set the mood so therefore you understand exactly where I'm coming from. You got to have the Italian mob music in back when you're talking about the mob, okay? And I'm talking about Cole. We're going to call it Cole for this situation. These are the 5 rules of a mob boss, right? And these are all the things I've discovered through Cole. But first and foremost, the music is brought to you by pinegroove.net. Pinegroove.net. Anytime you want some free music that's not going to get you in trouble, you can probably find it on pinegroove.net. They don't have no slogan. I didn't see a slogan. So the free shout out, public service announcement, get your music from pinegroove.net. Okay, so the rules I've noticed witnessing Cole. 5 rules. Now, rule number 1, you got to have a nice cover. In Cole's situation, it's her family. Cole's family is really nice. Okay, let me get that out the way. I used to work with Cole and her cousin, right? And there's such a divide between Cole and the cousin. The cousin, nice girl, just yappy all sometimes, you know, but overall she was a nice girl. And so was Cole. Cole was a nice, is, I don't mean to say was, is a nice person. Let me get that first and foremost. Cole is a nice person, hard worker, and the family, they're all nice. They would come into the facility sometimes and she'd be like, hey, Aunt Joy or Aunt Alice or whoever they were, like, how you doing? And they come around like, hey, Cole, how you doing? Didn't know you were working here. And they just chit-chat. And then I get chit-chat with them and they're just like, oh my God, they're just really nice people. Yeah, that's my family. They're nice, you know, they're good people. I was like, okay, Cole, calm down. You know, they're just good people. Her family was just good people, okay? Got a cover story. You know, you were my boss on the side, but you got a good family. This goes with, you know, most Italian crime movies. You see they all family eating spaghetti around the table. I think that's the case in this situation, right? So she has a nice family. Number 2, she has loyal friends. She does, and it really was. And she had this, I'm gonna call her the enforcer, her muscle, so to speak, because every crime boss has muscle. Beatrice and her used to work together at a certain facility that I used to frequent with, if you get what I'm saying. When I came back to working there, she rolled up on me and she said, hey, I know you. I said, how you know me? She said, I know you. You're Michael Gillespie. I said, okay. I mean, you know, I've been here in Hamilton most all my life. You know, that might be expected. I was, you know, semi-popular. I was a comedian. You know, people like jokes and all that stuff. And I was like, you know, well, I work here now. This is Cole. I work here now, and that's my best friend, Beatrice. I said, okay. Beatrice, she had a dominating persona, so to speak. I don't know how to word it carefully. It's just that she had such a presence on her that she gave off that loyalty crime boss friend, so to speak. Beatrice wasn't one to play with. She didn't have jokes. She did almost everything that Cole did, but in a grimier type way, so to speak, but not really. If you think of Cole as the crime boss, she's the enforcer. She's out in the streets beating up people. Where's my money at? Where's the money at? Cole needs her money. Quit playing. I'm going to beat you up. And that's the way Beatrice acted. On top of that, Beatrice was she was about that life. Again, we at work, working for the elderly. But she up here doing her thing on the side, big time. Enforcer, friend, loyalty. That was Beatrice. That's rule number 2. Rule number 3, connections. I have never met someone who is more connected than Cole was. Again, when I first came back, she automatically knew who I was. I'm like, that's weird because I've had very limited interactions with her. The only interaction we had was a former boyfriend she used to date that we used to play baseball with. That's the only known connection I have of Cole, right? Like, that's the only way I know of her. But she knew almost a lot about me. She's like, aren't you Michael Gillespie? I said, yeah. So didn't you used to work here before? I said, yeah, I did. Maybe they talked about that, All right. She's like, hey, didn't you used to live off 12th Street? I said, well, dang. How'd you know that? She said, well, I got my ways. I said, okay, Cole. I said, okay, cool. So you used to drive Chevy Malibu, didn't you? Gold color. I said, oh my God, I don't drive that no more. And I didn't used to drive that before. How'd you know that? She's like, it's my job to know that stuff. I said, oh, okay. I'm terrified because she knows so much in so little time. I'm like, okay. All right, I'm going to test her. See if she knows, if she has all this knowledge. Where's she getting all this knowledge from? I know I've been in Hamilton most of my life. I don't think she's left Hamilton. And that's no knock on her, Hey, again, I don't want no trouble, boss lady. If you hear this, I ain't even using your real name. Cole. So I'm like, Cole, do you know Jaquan on 4th Street? He said, Jaquan. She said, yeah, Jaquan. She said, Jaquan with the nappy hair? I said, dang, how'd you know? She said, yeah, me and him used to hang out back in the day. I said, oh. Dang, you know everybody, don't you? She said, yeah, pretty much. I said, okay. So let me go. Let me try some of my Caucasian friends. Let me see. How about Jake from State Farm? He said, do you know Jake? She said, man, do I know Jake? I gave him that monologue. I gave him that little nickname. Jake from State Farm. I was like, oh. Yeah, I said, dang, you know him? She said, yeah. She said, Mike, I know everybody. I said, dang, you know everybody, huh? I'm getting mad now because I think I know everybody. Yeah, I know everybody. I said, how about Jay Boogie on Middletown and the projects on the west side? Do you know Jay Boogie? He said, man, Jay Boogie? You mean Boogaloo? I said, dang. She said, yeah, I know Jay Boogie. We used to hang out a long time ago. I said, she knew everybody. I said, let me pull up his information. I'm getting mad. Pull up his information on your phone. I want to see it. And sure enough, she scrolled a couple times. Bam. He's right there. I said, man, this is crazy. I can't believe. She is well connected. She has a network of people. Well connected. Everybody knows Cole, and Cole knows everybody. She's well connected. Which brings me to point 4. Every crime boss has a rival. You may be like, who in their right mind will go against Cole? Because right now I'm terrified. I really should stop the podcast right now because she hears this, she's gonna come after me. But no, I'm not a rival. I'm just a spectator. She has a rivalry against somebody she's known, again, because she's well connected from back in the day. So when she came to my facility, and I tell Ichigo, say, Ichigo, Cole's coming to work here. He's like, oh, that's cool. I could dig it. I said, okay. And so I'm thinking I got a good staff of cooks. I got a good staff of servers. I shouldn't have no problems, right? And wrong. Ichigo and Cole started hating on each other. And I don't, to this day, I do not know why. I don't know why. The pay, I don't know why. And they were causing me so much stress. And I don't understand. Like, we're just here to serve people food. Why are you guys beefing? It would all start with a cell phone. The one weakness Cole has is that she loves her cell phone. But mostly everybody does in this generation. This generation cannot be separated from their cell phone. We know that. If you observe a teenager, you observe a young adult, you observe a middle-aged adult, you notice there's a cell phone. So I guess one point he got mad because I guess Cole was taking her time on the phone, clickety click, 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 sending messages and stuff. Well, Ichigo went his route to get under her skin and fight her, allegedly. Now, I'm gonna use that word a lot. Allegedly, right? So, allegedly, there was a Facebook post that Ichigo made, and it would seem that he's going after Cole in a subliminal type of way. I can't control people's Facebooks. She would come to me next morning like, hey, did you see what Ichigo is saying about me? I said, Crime Boss Cole, I don't scroll through Facebook of my employees. I'm lying. So I don't know what he said. I'm lying again. So I'm like, I don't know. So I scroll to see what Ichigo said, and possibly it could have been about Cole talking about cell phone usage. You know, you need to focus on your job. Get off your daggone phone. Again, the message does not say anything about Cole specifically. And Cole's getting mad. She's getting mad. Like, like red in the face. Gotta take a breather type mad. I'm like, yo, this is crazy because, I mean, I can't control it. It's freedom of speech. He can say what he wants. He's not. And the thing about it, Ichigo knew. He knew that whatever he said, if he didn't name a facility, didn't put a name on it, anything, it's free game. And she's getting pissed. So I'm like, so I pull her to the side. I said, look, Cole, there's no name on it. I can't hold no water because there's no name on it. There's no facility. He's like, but you know, he's talking about me. I said, possibly. I'm just the man in the middle for this situation. I don't know. So, okay. I got him. And so it went back and forth to a point where, they going back and forth, living these subliminal jabs at each other. I was like, hey, I'm in the middle. I can't do anything at all. So she goes in on I think his hair, because I guess he did this root style, like a little nappy style, and he's like, yeah, his hair's super nappy today. I said, going in on the hair. I'm like, yo, this is crazy, and he's like, she's going in on him too. So they going back and forth. I'm like, look, man, I don't know what y'all want me to do. So what do? I go to Nate. Now I gotta stop the music because Nate's super nice. Nate is a nice guy, right? So I'm like, Nate, help me. He's like, well, what do you want me to do about it, Michael? I'm like, yo, and I'm telling him to give him the background. And he's like, all right, well, I will go contact HR and I will get back to you. I'm like, all right. I think I'm getting an answer. So cue the music back on. So while he's doing the going the same route thing, they're going back and forth again. And this time, again, attacking on the Facebook with these subliminal jabs. He's like, yeah, well, just going in on her, like, right? Going in on her, like, she's not a real crime boss. I'm like, oh, Lord. Like, what have I gotten myself into? And then she pulls me, so I said, Mike, if he keeps this up, I'm going to have my dad come. I said, whoa. I said, if my dad comes, it's going to be some trouble. Because he says, and she was going, ain't no man supposed to be talking about a woman in that nature. I was like, you know what? You're right. Normally we don't do that. However, this is a situation. I don't know why you two are going at each other. I'm praying for Nate to come back with some answers from HR. This is getting ridiculous. So they're going back and forth. And then Nate comes back. Got to turn the music off because it's ain't mafia time. Nate's like, well, Michael, I can't do anything about it. Ichigo is playing by the rules. He's not mentioning no names. And you just got to keep Cole under control because she's going crazy too. You know, going up the chain and everything. So I would get brief periods of peace until Cole has some real situations happening. Mainly, back to rule number 1, her family. Her family, her elderly parts of her family, they started to decline in health, as we all do. And this is the part where everything spiraled out of control, per se. One of her family members was declining, and it was one of the centerpieces of her family, right? And it was taking a toll on her. Like, again, the thing about Cole is a hard worker. She's loyal, hardworking. I think high of Cole. Then this happened, and she started losing control, and rightfully so. Again, the thing about mob bosses is that they're family. Number 1 rule is family connected and everything. So that was happening. Then another family member, her uncle, was having medical issues, and she was missing work, right? So as the manager, I gotta do what I'm supposed to do, right? So she's missing work, coming in late. You know where I'm going with this. I gotta start writing things up, writing points up, and everything. And she completely goes ham on everybody, right? So again, I gotta do my thing, right? And again, before anything happened, me and Cole, we tight, cover work, no problems, right? Well, one day she's eating a bacon and mayonnaise sandwich, right? Eating the bacon and mayonnaise sandwich. I'm going, and then I was like, hey, I gotta talk to you. This is what's happening. And she's like, she gets mad at me. She's like, oh yeah? Like the time you pointed me when my grandfather was having medical issues? And she's chewing the bacon sandwich. She's finished eating that, and she throws the bacon and mayonnaise sandwich, and it hits me right in my face. Bam! And she storms off with her non-sock wearing self, right? Mayonnaise and grease from the bacon are all in my face. I can't believe she don't threw that half-eaten bacon and mayonnaise sandwich in my face. I said, oh, Cole, I'm ready to fight. I'm ready to fight. Like, I'm going to get you, dog. And then I go to the back, and she is inconsolable. She's crying, and everything is just mounting up and everything, right? And this whole time, I'm like, this is crazy because, one, I didn't sign up for this. I'm just supposed to be a manager, not, a counselor, a referee, Facebook checker. I'm just here to serve food and serve it as fast as I can. I'm not here for all that. So all this pressure was mounting on her. And then on top of that, her grandmother started having health issues. And that was the final straw. It's just too much for her. She eventually left the facility, right? That happens, and it's like, we finally get some peace. Then the stuff happens with Boo Boo the Fool. Then I'm gone, and all that stuff. So that's her rivalry. To this day, they both got, Ichigo's in another place. Cole's in another happier place. I'm in a different place. She will text me randomly. She's like, guess what? Guess what, Mike? I said, what's up, Cole? How you doing? It's like, guess who I saw? I said, who? I already know who. So yeah, I saw Ichigo walking somewhere else. I beat my horn and turned around and said something to him. I said, why would you do that? Because I don't forget. Which brings me to number 5. Never forgetting / revenge. Right? Like I said, she drove by Ichigo, said something out the window to him about him walking or something. Whatever. And then he was on Facebook talking mess to each other. It was a crazy thing. But Cole never forgets. This is the last thing to being a successful crime boss. They don't forget. The reason why I say that is because, again, this was about a year or so ago. And to this day, she still reminds me that I gave her points when her family was having all these events. It's like, I still remember you gave me points when my grandfather was having all these situations. I said, Cole, crime boss. I said, I couldn't help it. I had to do what I had to do. So yeah, I don't forget, Michael. I said, okay. I don't know what you're trying to do. You gonna put a hit on me? You gonna bring the enforcer back? What? I said, I was just doing my job, crime boss. She said, yeah, okay. Again, I brought up the Venmo PSA. She told me a long time ago, don't do that. She said, Mike, don't do that. She's not gonna do the honorable thing. I said, come on, Cole. You know her. We know her. Like, she's gonna do me right. She said, okay, Michael, keep it up. To this day, not a dime. She's right. She don't forget. And then she said, just like, hey, let's make her give her the money. I said, well, now I'm interested. What you mean? She's like, yo, you know where she's at? I could find out. I said, Cole, I know where she's at, but I'm not trying to. I just politely sit by the sidelines and wait for her to chime in and say, oh, that's right, I do owe Michael money. So nah, we ain't doing that. So let's go slash them tires. I said, no, Cole, we're not doing that. She's like, you sure? We could put some sugar in the tank. I said, Cole. So man, it's time for her to pay up. I told you we could do this right now. I said, Cole, we ain't about that life. We just gonna sit by and patiently wait like a good citizen and wait for the money, okay? So okay, Michael, you gonna be broke. So you ain't getting that money back. And I sit here today hoping that my message gets through subliminally. But those are the rules of the crime boss, especially with Cole in mind. Nice family, loyal friends, staying well connected, having rivals, and never forgetting. That's Cole in a nutshell. And I do this out of love. I mean, I really, really do. Because, again, Cole's a character. And, you don't expect to be with people that, again, are kind of the same mind frame, like-mindedness, hardworking, and everything. And Cole is that. Outside of working together, we've talked, and, she's good people. Despite the crime boss syndicate that she's in, she's good people. And this is why I do things like this, just to give them their flowers and everything. Speaking of flowers, don't give me none when you put me in the grave, crime boss, because I don't want that beef. I don't want to be Ichigo. That's the funny stuff right there. But either way, that's the show. I love that one. I did this one before, but then I tried to edit it, and somehow it all got corrupted and everything. So yeah, that's the rules of the crime boss, starring Cole. Thank you for tuning in to the WDYM. I'm your host, Michael Gillespie. You guys have a good night. And I'll see you later. Maybe video. I'm kidding. I'm out. Girl Scout, Boy Scout. Peace out.